Grand Rising, everyone. Happy Akoma Day. Happy Black History Month. I pray everyone is well. If you can just let me know in the comments that you can hear me, that would be great. Also, in the comments, let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you. Where are you joining us from? Good morning. Greetings, everyone. I see Atlanta. I see New Orleans. Yes, you can hear me. Yay. The Bronx. Charlotte. Richmond, Virginia. Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Thank you for coming on. Queens Village. Hi, Mama Amadoma. How are you? Wonderful to be here in the space with everyone today. Again, Grand Rising, happy Akoma Day, and welcome, 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 welcome to Sacred Kinship. This workshop is one that is dear to my heart. Those of you who are a part of the Soil Collective all know that this month we're talking about our tribe. We're talking about our support system. We're talking about those who rock with us even when folks don't see them, and how we recognize our Egbe, how we recognize our support, how we recognize belonging. Last month, we dove into our Ori and the idea of divine purpose and what that looks like as we are in the months of sacred rest, as we're still in the months of winter. But as we continue to move towards spring, towards a new beginning, it is a good time for us to begin thinking about the seeds that we're planting and how those seeds are cultivated through our community. So, with that, I say welcome. Feel free throughout the session to pop things in the chat. I'll also leave time if I ask a question for you to pop things into the chat. And it's a conversation. I'm presenting some things, but it's also about how we hold each other in community. So I welcome you all and I thank you all for being here with us today. So we're going to get started. And as we said, this workshop is about sacred kinship, and our theme for the month is finding our tribe. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means. But finding our tribe, sacred kinship, an introduction to Egbe, and the experience of belonging. So why are we here? I see Staten Island. Hey, Sister Tandum, how are you? Why are we here? One of the reasons we're here is because many people have, or we have been taught that belonging is something that we should earn, right? In order to belong, we have to earn. In order to be with the cliques, we have to earn. In order to be with the in crowd, we have to earn our spot. That it's a destination, that we chase it, that it's about achievement and proving ourselves to be worthy. But what happens when we change that framework? What happens when we begin to believe that instead of belonging being something we go after, that we have always belonged, but it's about where we belong and how we place ourselves in spaces that allows us to feel like we belong? And so this particular workshop and this particular conversation is about this idea of belonging as a homecoming, right? It's about a returning to self and returning to an understanding about being present and what that means. So just to lay down some community guidelines, I always like to say in this space, it's not about fixing. We're not about fixing ourselves, right? We're about honestly having a moment to reflect and in community reflect and see what comes up. What am I learning about myself in this moment that will carry me forward in this period of time? We're also about listening to the body. It is very important that we listen to the body because matter matters. And it's going to be our first indicator around what we're feeling and how we're feeling and when things feel misaligned. And many times we've been taught to ignore what we feel in our body when that is our first receptor. It's the first place that tells us when something is misaligned. We're also going to trust our inner knowing, right? Our body knows, our mind knows, right? It is only when we entertain doubt and fear that we question the knowledge that we have. And so we're going to disband this understanding that we don't know. And we're always going to be curious about what's coming up, because all of these things are ways in which our body, our mind, our spirit is telling us where and how we need to interact. And this is also about connection without performance, that we are clear that the way in which belonging occurs is just through resonance. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means, but it's not about performing to be, it's not about doing the most, it's about just being. Then it's always interesting to me that, some of these topics we talk about always align so well, because I always share that this is also, we're still in the season of divine feminine, right? The winter, the idea of conception. We're also in that space of being. The divine feminine doesn't do, the divine feminine just be. We have the ability to just be who we are, love who we are, learn who we are, change who we are, adapt who we are, but it's really about the state of being in the fullness of who we are. Understanding what that means for ourselves, what it means for our interaction and our relation to ourselves, to others, our partners, our families, our community, the world. All of that is still in this one state of being. And so it's really important that we continue to honor the divine feminine during this time, because it tells us a lot about who we are. And many times, not the person who we shows up at the forefront when we know we have to do, but the person that no one knows about, and that we're ready to really bring to the forefront. So a part of belonging is really thinking about the body, right? The body as a whole, I always say these machines that we have are pretty incredible. They're very resilient. They listen to everything that we say. So what we say matters, what we do matters, what we think matters. And then in this moment, I'm going to ask us to quiet ourselves, quiet our minds, quiet our bodies, and allow this to be a quiet moment of yes. That we're not going to rush, that we're going to find where it feels good in our body, and we're going to notice what wants to soften, right? What in us wants to soften, be it our heart, be it our solar plexus, be it our hands, our feet, our mind, where in the body feels like it needs to soften. And so to prepare us, we're going to take a couple of deep breaths. So find your space, allow your feet to be grounded to the floor. And I want you to take a couple of deep breaths in. Deep breath in and breathe out. Again, deep breath in and breathe out. One more time, deep breath in and breathe out. And I want you to take a moment to find your breath. Release any anxiety about getting here, finding your time, finding the spot, finding a place to be quiet, and just allow yourself to be in this moment, present, ready to accept yourself and to accept the belonging of community. And take a deep breath in and breathe out. One more time, deep breath in and breathe out. And notice how you feel. Places in the body that felt a little uncomfortable, maybe feeling comfortable now. And so I remind you to always come back to this feeling or to your breath anytime you are feeling as though those uncomfortable feelings or pricklies are coming back. Absolutely. Great. So we're going to keep moving forward. So let's talk a little bit about why belonging feels tender, right? Why it feels sometimes for us talking about belonging, thinking about our experiences as children, as adults, why belonging can sometimes feel very tender. It's a tender spot for us. One of the reasons is survival, right? Many of us have learned early that belonging meant being useful, being compliant, small enough so that you don't threaten. We adapt to belong so that we feel and stay safe. We've also learned that adaptation, right? We've learned to read rooms and to shift ourselves, to fold ourselves, to close ourselves off, not to show the fullness of who we are, so that we can still stay connected. But it comes at a cost because many times when we do that adaptation, we also are killing a part of ourselves. We are dampening a part of ourselves. We are not paying attention to a part of ourselves. Um, I always say that, I've had the experience of being in a relationship where I hadn't recognized that I was literally not being my full self until I got out of the relationship and literally let my hair down and was like, why haven't I been doing this all that time? And I realized I had spent so much time trying to keep the peace that I had forgotten about showing up as myself. So, this idea of adaptation comes, but it comes at a cost. And many times we don't even recognize that the cost that we've given or that we've sacrificed until we have come out of that situation. Belonging feels tender because many times it happens out of obligation. We stay in relationships because we feel that we should, not because we're being nourished by them. I'm going to say that again. We will stay in relationships because we feel like we should, but not because we're being nourished by them. Duty became confused with devotion. So we stayed because we know, oh, we should definitely do this. And in that staying, we've also disintegrated parts of ourselves again in order to keep the peace. And one of the final reasons why uh, belonging feels tender is because of proximity. Many times we mistake nearness, proximity, as kinship. That because someone is present, they're also resonant with who we are. And many times, just because they're around or just because people are there does not mean that we are truly being seen. So, one of the other reasons why belonging becomes very tender is because it creates patterns where our body tightens, we ignore it. Our mind doesn't feel safe, we ignore it, right? We are constantly scanning and trying to figure out how we fit in, and there is no time that we're actually just being who we need to be. Can anyone relate to that? Or is anyone having any flashbacks in their minds where this is coming forward for them? Again, feel free to put things in the chat. So the question is, well, what does belonging actually feel like? What does it feel like? True belonging often arrives quietly, without fanfare. I see Mara said absolutely resonates to how I felt in my preteen. Yes. Being a preteen, coming into your teenage years, taking on new roles, mother, wife, all of those things, good friend, best friend, no longer friend, all of those things, it'll be there. Yeah, Mama Freya says yes. And Sammy also says definitely can relate. Definitely can relate. So, what does belonging actually feel like? True belonging usually arrives quietly. There's not a lot of fanfare. It doesn't make an announcement. All of a sudden, you're like, interesting. This feels safe. This feels good. There's not a lot of drama. And sometimes what is so interesting to me as I work with community and I have clients and we talk is that sometimes we are so geared into there being drama that we forget that the absence of drama actually means that this is something that's working. We've conditioned ourselves that if drama is not happening, then it must not be good. I don't know when we got there, but it tends to be that actually just allowing ourselves to experience sometimes things that we haven't experienced before, to have the capacity to hold that takes a lot for us because we're used to chaos and commotion. Mama Doma says, yes, we stay because we think we should. Definitely. So, how does it feel in the body? Because one of the things I always say is that matter matters, which means we're going to feel it in our body many times before we even understand what our mind is thinking, what our spirit is feeling, how to communicate what's happening. So, one of the ways in which belonging feels right is that there's ease, there's a lightness that hasn't existed before. There's no effort, right? You don't have to perform to be there, you just are there. There's a softening. Your shoulders drop. Your jaw unclenches. You don't even realize it, but you may have been holding all that time. And now it's starting to actually relax and soften. Your body is softening itself. You feel as though you can exhale. A deep, full breath that reaches all the way down. The body is finally saying yes. Share another comment in the that says Mama Tandum says yes, entirely. Obligation, also adaptation, especially in work life. And this costs us our physical health. That is absolutely right. Which is one of the reasons why I thought in this particular series, talking about what it feels like in the body is so important because many times we've been taught to ignore what our bodies are telling us. And it does cost us our physical health because whenever there's dis-ease and we don't deal with it, it then becomes disease. And it shows up in the crick in your neck. It shows up in all of a sudden, you had no issue and then your ankle is acting up. All of a sudden, you had no cold and now you have a cold that you can't kick. These are all also signs that sometimes there are things going on that may not have been purged. And so the body is now taking it on. So we talk a little bit about belonging, fitting in versus being recognized, right? That many times what we've been taught in community, what we've been taught in society is that there's a constant effort to make yourself smaller in order to fit in. And many times that does what? It drains our energy. It doesn't allow us to show up fully in who we are. We believe that we are too much. We're not always present because we're always calculating in our mind how we need to show up, what we need to say, how do we walk on eggshells, how do we ensure that all these things are happening. And we're not ever being the fullness of ourselves or allowing ourselves to evolve into the fullness of who we are because we're always becoming, you're always evolving. The person who you were 10 years ago isn't the person that's showing up today. And many times, depending on how your evolution is happening and what season of becoming you are, the person you were a week ago isn't the person who's showing up today. And so we have to be able to have spaces that allow for us the fullness of who we are without draining our energy. When we are recognized, which is a key factor in belonging, it feels natural. It's like coming home to yourself. It's like meeting that person that you have never met before and you start talking to them and you're like, wow, this feels like someone who I've known for my entire life, right? It nourishes the wholeness instead of fragmenting it. You're not feeling as though parts of yourself have to adjust, but that your whole self can be present. There is a process of restoration that happens in connection to spaces in which we feel like we belong. So it's important for us to even recognize as we're having this conversation, where in your own life, in your own understanding, do you feel as though you are working to fit in? And do you feel as though you're being recognized? And how do we create spaces where more of the being recognized exists and less of the fitting in exists? I share sometimes with clients all the time that it's also an age thing. I'm going to just let everyone know when you're in your 20s, you really are trying to figure out where you go, how you go, what you do. And sometimes you already have that personality, but you're still trying to get a lay of the land. In your 30s, you come away with, interesting. You have some of your biggest growth spurts and some of your biggest revelations. Many times you may have already experienced your first heartbreak. That really will shape the way in which you deal in relation. By the time you get to 40, I'm happy person in the 40 club. There's a place of, nope, we're not doing that no more. And there's an interesting space that happens where you become begin to understand how you shape and mold your reality. Your boundaries begin to change. And not just the boundaries of no, but the boundaries of yes, right? Thinking about Shonda Rhimes' book, A Year of Yes, right? The things that you're going to say yes to and want to experience in your life will change. I've spoken to some of my elder sisters who are in their 50s and in their 60s. They always tell me, girl, you wait till 50. And I'm like, okay. They're like, no, it's a whole new thing. He said, but 60, that's a whole nother level. So we are constantly becoming. And as we become, we are taking the lessons of the decades before and beginning to understand how to fully sit in ourselves, how to fully show up as ourselves, and not apologize for it at all. Those who are for us will come, those who are not will not be a part of the group. And we're okay with standing on that. And so that's a really big piece to begin to think about when you think about where you feel that you belong or where you feel seen and recognized, because those are typically the spaces that will continue to help you in your evolution. Love and recognition. To be loved is to be seen. This is a great quote from author Bell Hooks. It's from the book Around Self-Love. It's one of the things that I love about also this time of year, because belonging is this idea of recognition, and so is love, right? It's woven into the same thread that our hearts, right, our physical hearts and our brain heart, that controls the way in which we understand energy and the way in which we feel as though we're connected, helps us to understand what love is. That love is an action, that love requires, that not only that love is an action, but love is a verb, right? It requires action on anyone's part. It requires action on our part if we are loving ourselves, if we're loving community, if we're loving without condition to the fullest of what love is, and recognizing not just love, but compassion and empathy and all of those things. That when we can do so for ourselves, we can also do so for others. And so I always ask us to always reflect on ourselves first. Where are we showing ourselves love? And are we showing ourselves as much love, grace, and compassion as we share with others? Think about that for a second. Where are we showing ourselves love, compassion, and empathy the same way that we share with others? I'm going to share some of these comments while we think about that. Sammy says, good to know I'm in my 30s and really feeling the change. It's a change. It's a change. My life partners in the 40s club has been more patient with me, and it helps, and it leads the relationship. It's definitely a change. I'll give you that. Mara shares, constantly becoming feels deeply connected to shaping the new blueprint I'm building for myself and for my life. Yes. Yes. In your 30s. Yep. It's evolution is an interesting thing. And part of our ability, I always share this with folks, right? The difference that we are as humans, that we have differently than any other species in the ecosystem, is that we have the ability to choose, right? The butterfly destiny is to be a butterfly. Even when it's in its caterpillar stage, it can't be like, I don't want to be a butterfly. I'm going to stay as a caterpillar. Nope. That's not your destiny. You don't get that choice. You have to go through the fullness of your evolution until you become what it is you were destined to become. And it happens as part of the mechanics or the blueprint of a butterfly, right? That it goes through all the stages. This is the same thing I say about a roach. A roach doesn't get to determine that tomorrow I want to be a butterfly. Its destiny is to be a roach. That's what it's here for. Whatever it's come to do, that's what it's going to do. But we as humans, we have the one thing that others don't have. We have choice. We get to choose. We get to choose how we show up in the world, what we choose to be around, what energies we let in, what light we give off. All of that becomes choice. So part of this process that we're a part of is to really remember that we get to choose. It's our choice to love. It's our choice to show up. It's our choice to know whether or not we belong. It's our choice to walk away when it no longer fits us, because we're always evolving. And part of the work that we do is that evolution, is recognizing when we're becoming and ensuring that as we're doing that, we're aligning ourselves with relations that allow for us to continue to blossom. You are most welcome, Sammy. She says, it does feel better than you're trying. I know, it does. It definitely does. So let's talk a little bit about Egbe. So Egbe is a concept. So many of you may have heard Egbe in lots of different ways. We talk about Egbe as being a group, and that really is the way to think about it. Egbe in the Yoruba spiritual tradition, it speaks about this sacred soul aligning kinship, right? It's these spiritual communities, seen and unseen, that you belong to. This particular understanding means that you are this reflection of this essence or this group, right? Egbe reminds us that kinship is not just merely social or biological. It's energetic, it's spiritual, it's deeply resonant. It transcends the visible world, right? So many times we have, again, these what we call kinships that have nothing to do with our families, right? There are many times you feel like you are a family member to somebody who you're not blood, because those are chosen family. Those may actually be your Egbe members. You all came with the same energy here to earth. And so it's important to talk about Egbe in this fashion, because many times we forget that this exists, that sometimes we come to the earth, we come to this side, and we may not be born into our Egbe, right? You have folks who sometimes are born into families where they feel like they are the black swan, because many times we've chosen to come, but we are not surrounded by the people who are supposed to be our reflection. And many times we have to find that outside. And that doesn't mean that those who are around us, those who are our caregivers, those who have helped to bring us up aren't important. They are very important. But they are also very important to our journey and our destiny. And our destiny may not be in relation to them for the rest of our lives. So one of the things we talk about a lot about when we talk about Egbe is that there's this resonance over obligation, right? That true kinship vibrates at a frequency. It vibrates at a frequency. This is the same feeling you get when you walk into a room and you're like, yo, this is the reason why I can mess with you, because the energy is the same. You've recognized your person. It doesn't require maintenance through duty. It's literally a frequency. You have recognition over performance. You are known for who you are, not for what you can provide or accomplish. Excuse me. These are the folks who know, who will check up on you, who will just say, hey, I just thought about you. We have a running joke with all of my Egbe sisters and brothers that all of a sudden we'll think about each other and we'll all text, and we'll see text messages coming in at the same time. Why? We're Egbe. We really will be on that same frequency. Like, I just thought about you and I'm just sending a quick text, right? That's because we're connected beyond just these physical realms, that we can be thousands of miles away from each other, and we're thinking about each other in the same moment. We're having a thought about each other. You may not know what's going on with this person. You may go, whatever spiritual practice you have, you may go to your shrine and all of a sudden you feel the urge to pray for this person, because you all are on that same frequency, right? You are on that same frequency. The other thing to recognize is that Egbe is seen and unseen support, right? So your Egbe includes living people, ancestors, spiritual presences. It includes, and I think I'll talk a little bit about this, it includes places, people, plants, all of these things can be a part of our Egbe, right? It's energies and frequencies that recognize who we are. Those of you who've been in a workshop and session with me before, you've heard me say, sometimes you need to just go to a tree and go hug it because plants have that energy, right? We carry frequency with them, and there's certain plants that are very resonant to our spirit. We can go and we can sit with them. We can have it out. We can smell them, and they bring us back to home. They bring us back to our body. They remind us who we are. These are important things to remember about Egbe, right? Because we've been taught in the world to believe that we're not connected. The way in which they've been able to divide and to hold us back has been the belief that we are supposed to do all of this on our own. And I talk about this in the course this month, that it's not about the hero's journey. It's a lie. It's something that's been fed to us. It is an absolute lie. We are not meant to do this work alone. We do not walk alone. Our destiny, what we are destined to do, is relational. It's related to someone else's destiny. You can't just be on your path by yourself and then, no, it's relational. It's based on the people that you meet. This is the reason why you can be in kindergarten and your whole world could be reshaped by this one person who was probably a part of your Egbe and saw something in you and continued to recognize who you were when no one else could see that you weren't just this child who just had so much energy. You actually were this child who was a genius and needed somebody to take 2 seconds to figure out how to reach you. And that was that one person who saw you. They figured it out. They reached you. They encouraged you. They kept you moving. And Egbe will be there. That frequency will always be there, but it won't be there all the time. Because some Egbe are there just for a moment. Some Egbe are there for a season. Some people are there for a lifetime. Some experiences are there for a lifetime. And so those are also what's really important, because when we don't recognize our Egbe, when we don't recognize that they're supporting us, when we don't call that energy in, it then begins to dissipate. It doesn't have the ability to create a stronghold and create the support system that we need in order for us to accomplish our dreams and our goals. How's this resonating with folks? Do we have any questions? Sammy shares, I love this. Yeah, beginning to focus on chosen family is very helpful, and seeing where they show up. If you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to pop it in the chat. So, how Egbe shows up. I love this part. I do. Because sacred kinship is not confined to any single form. Egbe moves through our lives in many ways. It shifts and reveals itself as we grow and change. As I said, the person who you were a year ago, the person who you were 3 months ago is definitely a different person right now. And so you're going to be aware of different energies right now. So Egbe can show up in a person. It can be a friend who sees you completely. It can be a teacher, as I talked before, who reflects your potential back to you. It could be a stranger whose words land on your heart like they were meant just for you, right? That you are having a really hard day and all of a sudden you get this joyful experience with somebody who you absolutely do not know, right? Egbe can show up in community, right? It can be where you can breathe and feel full. You may have sister circles. You may have work circles. You may have work partners, people who in community, they feel like you don't have to explain yourself. You can think it, they know it, you understand. I have a couple of friends who are like that. We'll be in rooms together and they'll just look at me and I'm like, or I won't even say anything. And those of you who know, if you've been on social media recently, a lot of Black and Indigenous folks will get on and not say anything, but all of their expressions had a whole conversation. I have a couple of people like that in my life where we don't have to say anything. We'll look at each other and be like, yep, got it. That is a part of your Egbe. That's understanding who these folks are. That's beginning to recognize that on this journey, you're going to have folks who see you fully for who you are. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to think about it. You just can be. The other piece to think about how Egbe shows up is Egbe many times shows up in different seasons. So as I shared before, sometimes belonging arrives temporarily, right? It's a chapter, a phase, a moment where certain people or places hold you exactly where you need to be. Sometimes you may feel like you need to move to another place, or you spend a month in another place, or you need to travel or learn and see other folks. Like that's some of those experiences are Egbe experiences, right? Because it's giving you an opportunity to be in a space that completely sees you and gives you a new experience and understands your spirit in that time. And also in those moments, those are places and times and spaces that you are replenished, right? You don't feel like you're depleted. You don't feel like it's hard work to be seen. You're just there. We have ancestral and spiritual presences, right? So your ancestors that guide you, the spiritual energies that support your path, the unseen forces that will allow for you to feel belonged in certain spaces. Those become larger and bigger, and the things that we can remember if we're paying attention, right? The moment that you are, for me, those of you who know and have worked with me before, you know that I'm very much connected to plants. So there are times where I'll walk in the street and a plant will literally stop me. I don't know why. I'm like, what do you need? What are you trying to? And sometimes I will sit there and I can study it. I can take a picture. I can feel it. And I can say, oh, you want me to learn about you today. Or it could just be something where it's just reminding me of beauty. It's being the reflection of who I am and saying, hey, I know it took a lot to get out here, but we see you. And if you live in New York, you know, especially in the spring and summer times, flowers and plants like literally will grow out of the sidewalk. My daughter and I were walking back from dinner one night. Again, these are the things, that's how I know that they're always showing up and hey, pay attention. We're walking in the street on the sidewalk. The sidewalk is kind of janky. Walking. All of a sudden, something stops me, and I look down. Out of the sidewalk is a fully formed tree. Small little tree growing up. Nobody would probably pay attention because you're always walking so fast. You're not even paying attention. You're trying to get to your next thing. Something made me stop and look down. A full tree growing out of the side of the sidewalk. So we have to sometimes, again, this idea of also allowing ourselves to be present, to know that the energy exists is very, very important. I see a couple of comments. I see Mama Frie says some childhood memories began to come up. Right. We didn't think about them as Egbe, but many times, that aunt, that cousin, that teacher that saw you for who you were, while everybody else around you is telling you other things, those many times are Egbe showing up for us in those moments. Sammy said, yep, confirmation. Travel more this year. Get out there. Meet the people. Meet the places. Understand what it means to feel at home. I've traveled a couple of many different places, and there are certain places that have always felt really good to me. One of those spaces has been Belize. Another space, Mama Tandum is on here. We've gone to travel to Senegal together. Senegal has always felt like home, no matter how many times I go there, how many times I've been there, different people I've been there with. I get there and I'm like, yep, feels like home. So there's certain places that will create that opportunity for you. I say that every time I travel home to Belize, many times it's with me, doing herbal work or bringing people there or going to see family. But the minute I put my feet on that soil, my whole spirit changes. Like I literally feel like all the rush that I feel here in the United States goes like it doesn't exist. And it happens very quickly. I literally will get off the plane. I'm riding along the river and I'm like, okay, I'm home. my body just automatically clicks right in. So you got to recognize where that happens, because that's really important to our own healing, really important to us understanding what our bodies need and what our Egbes are calling us to do. Sion says, oh, thank you. Does Egbe show up in places or spaces or people where you feel deep belonging, but also persistent non-belonging? Yes, it can be both and, right? I always share with folks that sometimes adversity is also not a bad thing, right? And why is adversity not a bad thing? Because sometimes we're adverse to certain people, places, or things because it's not a part of our becoming as of yet, right? That there's some places we feel really deep belonging, and that belonging, we'll talk about it, sometimes will change, right? It'll change because we also evolve. And there are some times where we feel adverse to certain things, where over time they become the place where we belong. Part of that is part of the adversity, part of the unease in our bodies may also be that we haven't become that yet. That place in our body, that place in our evolution that allows that to support us. They may be before their time. You may be before that time. And I think about it, and I think about elders. I've always had, I'm so really grateful. I've always had the honor of being at the feet of elders all of my life. As I can think about it, even as a child, when my parents used to go to church, there used to always be elders that would just be like, that's my daughter, right? And I would always hang out with them. They would take me places. I had godparents who didn't have children who would also just like take me places. And my parents were like, I've never seen this before, but okay. But I say that to say there were also elders that when I was younger, I would be scared of them. I recognized something that I think as an adult, I probably didn't understand how to articulate. By the time I was in my teens and early 20s, they were the people I wanted to hang out with. They were the people I wanted to sit at their feet. They're the people who reminded me of who I was or who I was becoming, because I got to move past the hard exterior or whatever felt adverse to me to kind of figure out, well, there's something there for me to learn about. There's something there for me to understand. There's a lesson that's coming in this moment. So I do believe what you're saying, Sion, that it can be both and that it evolves with us, right? And that to also remember that this is a frequency we're talking about. So the frequency is going to be reflective of what we have the capacity to hold. I'll say that one again. The frequency is going to be reflective of the capacity that we have to hold. So there are times in our lives where certain energies are coming to us because they know they need to be here to support us, but we don't actually have the capacity to hold that. We're not in that space. And so that's also spaces where Egbe will show up. They'll show up many times in that same frequency that we may not be. We're like, I know it's coming, but I don't really know what to do with this, right? Sometimes just the acknowledgement of it gets us into an understanding and a rhythm about what that means. I hope that was helpful, Sion. Thank you for asking that question. Tandu, yes, definitely. It's an actual connection in Senegal. It definitely is. I always say it's different for me. So Nigeria is different, Ghana is different, Guinea is different, Mali is different. All these places are very different for me. But Senegal has always felt like home. Other spaces can feel very heavy. They can still feel like home, but it's a different feeling. Like I get there, and again, same thing with Belize. Like I don't feel like I have to do anything. The minute I land there, that's what happens. So Sammy says, Nance, thank you. I know sometimes we won't be on social, but sometimes we have to be there for our jobs and our work. But it's helpful. It's helpful to understand what's happening out in the world. And I found even for myself, I don't do it because I want to. Like it's not my personal thing. It's about my business and the way in which I share the work that I know I'm supposed to share. And I share all the time. Sometimes we have to Specifically, I'm speaking to myself, but this may be somebody else's testimony too. Sometimes we have to get out of our way so that we can actually do the work that we've been called to do. And it's hard. I I don't want to be seen. I really don't mind sitting and looking at a white wall and being with my family and doing da da da. But my destiny is one that's relational and requires me to be out in the world to help others, to understand what that means, to be able to hear, have the capacity to translate and be the reflection for other people's transformation. That's important to understand because that then changes the way in which you choose and have actions in the world. And it's really an interesting conversation, but that's a conversation for another time. Tandem shares, I have a few places like that, and they feel specifically ancestral and soulfully connected. Yes. Great. Thank you, Sion. Thank you so much for your question. Mama Fria says, Brooklyn has always felt like home to me. I am happy there. Yay. As a fellow Brooklynite, I like that idea. I always toy with, well, where could I live could I live in another borough? And I don't think I can. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't think I can, but that I digress. Yeah. So it's a fact that yes, it is. Social media is taking over, and sometimes it definitely is. That's why you have to monitor what you're taking in. All of it is energy, right? All of it is energy, and what we put our minds to, that's where our actions go. So you have to be very, very clear about what you're doing in different places. So thank you all so much for sharing. We're going to keep moving. So one of the things I want to talk about in this particular workshop is, why do relationships shift, right? Why do relationships shift? Your resonance changes, right? Remember, we talked about belonging is this frequency. It's a frequency that occurs. And sometimes you are evolving and your resonance changes. Your resonance becomes higher. You vibrate higher. You vibrate at a different resonancy that other people can't follow you into because they may not be ready for it. Or they may have been your Egbe in a very specific season. And as you become, they're not going to be the ones going with you. And the interesting part about that is many times, again, as we shared previously, we will stay in relationships because we believe we should, even when it's no longer resonating with us, right? As we grow, as we heal, as we transform, we energetically change. Our energy can take but so much. And we have to many times make a choice around what no longer matches us, right? Because I understand what we're becoming, and I understand what I'm becoming, and I understand where I am. And many times, sometimes those two things don't click. They don't click. I can talk about friendships that I've had since high school that were great, amazing. And as we became adults, as life began to life, I began to recognize that it wasn't resonant anymore. And it's the hardest thing, especially when you've already devoted a lot of time and effort into these relationships, to have that honest conversation with yourself around, this isn't working. Not only is this not working, I've gotten to a place where I'm not going to explain it anymore. That I've got to be okay with letting it go. And I've got to know that spirit is going to support me in this moment of understanding and attracting the energy that's going to be about my becoming. And it's hard because this also happens in our work life and our professional lives. Like, we'll stay at jobs, we'll stay in careers that we know aren't us. We'll do it for all the reasons: the money, the time. I don't want to learn something new. I've put too much effort in. The question becomes, are you actually allowing yourself to evolve? I spoke to a sister the other day. She's in her early 40s. She's getting ready to retire from a job. She literally was like, sis, I'm getting ready to retire in 9 days. She's on countdown, seriously. But she had been at that job doing work in youth development, which I totally understand because I was in that work for over 20 something years. And she has this passion for skincare and all of this stuff. And she was like, It's time. It's time for me to put that down. I did that work. And now I've got to become this other thing. And so that is really important to know and note when resonance changes. That's when relationships change. When your clarity deepens, right? When you begin to discern more clearly what nourishes you and what depletes you. You can feel it, you can know it, you be like, yeah, I'm not doing that energy today, right? That's clear, and that's clarity speaking from a space of inner knowing more than external validation. Many times we want to have somebody tell us that we're loved, have somebody tell us that that we're here for you. Many times it's us with just the mirror to our face saying, does this reflect who I am? And as we become more clear in that, relationships will begin to dissipate. They'll take a change, they'll shift. Some connections fall away because that person also was just not meant to walk with you forever, as we said before. A moment, a season, a lifetime, right? Sometimes the season for that relationship or that relation has passed. And this is natural. We forget it. It doesn't mean you negate all the good times or any of those things, but that it's natural for there to be a new season. And there should be a new season because there's always a new you. There should always be a new you. Right? You're going to start attracting different folks. Think about the time that you're like, I want to try something new. And then all of a sudden, 4 other people come to you, some people that you know, some people you don't know, and they all are talking about the same thing. You guys are all on the same wavelength. You're all on the same frequency. And in that moment, you're being shown, hey, these are some folks that you can get with that are in this frequency that can help you with this next thing you're trying to do. It's just a natural thing that happens, right? Releasing those relationships, it's not failure. It's actually alignment. We have to let go in order to make space for what truly belongs. I always say, if you try to grab water, what happens? It slips through your fingers. If you try to hold sand too tightly, what happens? After a while, it just slips all the way through your fingers and you have nothing. We want to be able to gracefully let go of things so that we also can leave great imprints about the experience that we had in our mind so we can always go back to them to learn from them. Instead of the drama and the chaos of the way that things tends to end, and then it becomes this thing that we have to heal from. So it's okay to let it go. It's okay to release. It's not a failure. It's about alignment. Mama Tandum says, she says, knowing how to leave well is also a helpful skill. I didn't even read your comment yet. Fear of trauma during separation can delay leaving. How do you gain the skill of figuring out how to leave with the least trauma possible, or conversely, in the most healthy way possible? Exactly. So I think that one of the things, as we were talking about before, is thinking about what feels right to your body. I always say, come back to the body first, right? Because it'll tell you when, this doesn't feel too good, or I need to adjust this, or I need to adjust the amount of effort or time I'm putting into something. These are indicators about when things are happening. I think the other thing that I found in my life, and I'm so grateful for, I'm grateful for my Egbe, I'm grateful for my spiritual path, I'm grateful for my ancestors, because one of the things that they do, and you see conversation with people like, these energies, they don't play about me. They don't. Because one of the things that they always will do is they will move people out of my life without me even realizing what's happening, without the drama, without the, if my prayer is, I want to be aligned with folks who can assist me in doing X, Y, and Z. I want to create opportunities for peace and nourishment in my relationships. Like being really clear about what I'm praying and meditating on when I'm in my spiritual practice has really helped for all of the quote unquote baggage to kind of dissipate without me seeing any drama. And when I say move, I mean move, like literally spirit be like, yeah, you're not going to talk to them. It's not even coming to your head. You're not going to, or I love the one where people will invite me out and I just won't be available. I'm not lying that I'm not available. I really am not available. And Spirit would just have it that I'm not available. And so that frequency that we may have had starts to lessen. And then over time, it dissipates on its own. So I think that paying attention to what you're feeling in your body, but also really being clear about what you want to align with in that time. Because when we are clear about that, our Egbe and everything else in the universe begins to help us to make that reality, that we can see that reality. Because the other piece is many times, depending on what we're focused on, we will then pull that energy forward because we're mirrors. The energy mirrors what we're putting our mind to. What we put our mind to is what shows up in reality. So many times we have to begin to trust our own inner knowing and also to speak it into existence, right? If you know, oh, I really want to be surrounded by those who are for me, that energy that is for me, that energy that's going to help me evolve, that energy that's going to help me grow. And I want it to be a peaceful energy. I want it to be an energy that helps to cultivate my curiosity. I want it to be like, these are all things that we have to be very clear about what we're speaking into existence. And one of the things that I've noticed is as I've spoken them, universe starts moving things around. I don't feel like I have to be out of my own integrity to tell somebody, oh, I got to make up something where I'm not going to be there. No, I'm actually not available. And I know Spirit did that, right? Because I don't like to lie. I don't have enough brain capacity to be able to hold on to untruths. It's too much work to figure out who I said what to when, too much. So having that ability, I think now, and talking about it and being very conscious about it in your journaling, in your prayers, in your meditation, it starts to create this new reality that your mind is pulling forward for you. And then Egbe gets to support you. That energy gets to support you in that and gets to say, oh, yeah, okay, all right, let's move and shake. Let's do this. And allowing yourself to be open to receiving those things that you may have been curious about, but have never had the time. And so that energy becomes something new that you're exposing yourself to, and it helps the universe to understand. Okay, let's help her understand how this works. And again, our Egbe comes to us, and it helps us to recognize, oh, this energy feels resonant. I hope that was helpful, Mama Tandu. Yes, leave with counter and follow it. Yes, that feel it's very doable. It's very doable. Thank you for that question. It was great. So we're going to talk a little bit about our ally, our plant ally for this session, and even for this month, as we talk about rose. Rose is a very, 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 I can't say how powerful roses are. It's not left to chance that they try to only associate it with love, but rose has so many other properties. It deals with peace, it deals with spiritual understanding, it deals with it's heart medicine. And as you all know, of our three hearts, of our three brains, our heart is our largest brain, right? It is the energetic center of everything that we do. And that having allies to help us on that journey is really important. Rose is about heart, right? It's associated with love, but it's really about balancing the opportunity to be open, to receive, to give, and to be fully yourself. It is one of the plants and the flowers that helps us to speak and live from our heart without apology. It shows up honestly and helps us to feel vulnerable. And I want you to think about, if you have a rose, if you have rose petals, if you have rose essential oil, if you go out, I know today, any place you go, you can probably see roses. Just look at a rose. Take a moment even to look at the rose that's on the screen. What do you see? Just pop in the chat. What do you see? What do you observe about this rose, about this flower? Mary says layers of petals. What else? Sion says many layers, folds of support, protection, love, and beauty. Yes, yes, yes. What else? What else do you see? I see. Oh, excuse me. Sammy says, I see open connections and just the energy of protected joy. Yes. Mama Amadoma says, I see layers wrapped around. Mama Tandu says, complexity in color and in depth. Yes. Mama Frie says, beauty, layers, softest peace. Yes. So when you think about rose, right, just in this picture that we have, not even us smelling it, which I'm just let you all know I'm smelling it because I have dried petals. My tea is rose. I have a lot of rose stuff happening right now because it really is a ally that I use in this month and in this season. But when you think about rose and you think about the layers that you see, right? If you've ever pulled apart rose petals, which I do from time to time, it seems as though you will never come to the last petal. And it's, I always say to folks that plants are indicative or reflections of who we are. If you think about yourself as a rose, if you think about your heart as a rose, right? Think about how much depth and complexity exists. Think about how many layers exist. Think about how your love goes deep, why it goes deep, how it reaches out, right? How it protects your joy, how you feel joy, how you feel when you feel loved. All of this is just a reflection of what rose is. Its ability to be layered and to continue to awaken softness in us at different stages in our life. Receiving a rose when I was little from my mother during Valentine's Day was very different than receiving a rose from my mother yesterday because someone gave her a rose and she came home. I was taking care of my dad and she came home and then she gave me the rose and she said, "Yep, you're part of the flowers that are in our lives." Oh, right? That ability for us to translate that with the color, with the scent, all of these are part of Rose's arsenal. So Rose teaches us, again, this idea that we can show up with our full heart unapologetically. And that as we learn about our heart, as we learn the layers of love that exist within ourselves, that to show up in fullness allows us to actually experience the world differently. Mama Doma says softness. Yeah. And that's interesting you said that because the next key fact about rose is that it has gentle boundaries, right? That the way in which the rose petals, the way in which they layer, create these gentle boundaries about who you are, what's soft, what needs to be protected, right? That the boundaries themselves are acts of love. It's not about exclusion. It's not about you not being a part of. It's about how we include all of who you are inside of this container. That's the power of Rose. Rose reminds us about gentle boundaries, about the boundaries of our heart, the boundaries that we need to have when we give and when we receive. That is a part of reciprocity, and that boundary is really important. That in order for us to understand it, that there needs to be some reciprocity in the process. And then Rose also teaches us to love without self-abandonment. Rose reminds us that loving others doesn't require losing ourselves, that loving others doesn't require us losing ourselves, that we can do both and be fulfilled. This is the medicine of Rose, that tenderness and clarity can exist. They can coexist with each other, right? I can still be tender. I can still be soft. I can still be love. I can still give love, but I can also have clarity about what my boundary is. I can have clarity around this is how much I'm going to give. I can have boundary around this is what I will accept versus this is what I will not accept, right? Those two things can coexist. And rose shows us how to do it. Why? Because you have the rose, you have the flower, and then what's on its stem? Thorns. It literally protects the softness of who it is through an exterior, through thorns. Same plant, roses and thorns, right? It's giving us the understanding of what that means and why it's important. And then when people deal with us gently, what happens? They don't get the thorns. They get to see the fullness of who we are, right? Amazing. The flowers always have so much to teach us. So, rose and the heart. One of the things, again, as we were sharing before, that rose is heart medicine, right? It teaches us about uh, emotional safety, right? That the heart can be open without feeling like you're giving your heart so much that you feel heartbroken, right? That there's safety and softness, and it comes as we are ready, right? That it comes at the speed of trust. That heart also provides clarity. That when the heart is calm and it's supported, we get a sense or a more feeling of truly who we are. We're able to belong, we're able to exist in softness. And that there's a slow and intentional opening, right? That rose helps us to understand that we don't have to force the heart to be open, that we invite it to be open gently, right? That each petal has its time and its own pace. Again, the idea of the layers, right, that we see in rose. It's not just going to be any which way, but that there is a format that happens, like you said. It looks like it's constantly being wrapped around, wrapped around, wrapped around. And if you ever take apart a rose, you're going to learn that about it, right? That you can literally sit there and be completely engulfed in rose. So understanding that, in thinking about this as heart medicine, that rose and ourselves, we also evolve as we go. We also set our own time and our own pace. We also have the ability to see it once we have the capacity to hold it, because we're all always becoming. We're always evolving. We're always becoming something new. Or I like to say we're upgrading, right? We have an upgrade that happens ever so often with the amount of energy that's happening in the cosmos in this next week. Trust me, you're going to have an upgrade from changing from one year to the other, from there being a solar eclipse to a new moon, to all of those things. All of those things are going to help with upgrade. And so think about, in this time, what you want to concentrate on as being the focus of this upgrade, right? Because this is where we can have uh, the cosmos and the universe really support us in this moment of opening our heart, of opening our minds, of allowing our bodies to rest, allowing our bodies to be fully seen. What does it mean to be fully seen? Take a moment, if you have your journal. What does it mean to be fully seen in this moment in your life? What does it mean for you? Write it down. And if you'd like to share, pop it into the chat. What does it mean to be fully seen? So we're going to take a little bit of time to reflect and do a little bit of reflection. And then we'll do our community ritual. And then we'll be good for the day. But I want us to take a moment, as you are writing about what does it mean to be fully seen, to think about these 3 reflection questions. And I want you to In this particular case, we're not going to write it down, but what you're going to do is notice where you feel it in your body. No pressure, just allowing it to kind of settle where it settles. So here's the first question. Where do I feel most myself? Where do I feel most myself? What places, people, or activities allow me to stop performing and simply be? What places, people, or activities allow me to stop performing and simply be? Take a moment, see where that resonates. Don't actually think about it, but allow it to rise, your inner knowing rise to the top. Because many times we know what we know. We just are afraid to say it. Our second question is, where do I soften rather than brace? Where do I soften rather than brace? What relationships or environments let my body relax instead of tightening? What relationships or environments let my body relax instead of tightening? Take a moment to see where that lands for you. And our third question, who or what meets me without demand? Who or what meets me without demand? Where am I received as I am, not as I could be or should be? Where am I received as I am, not as I could be or should be? Again, let the body answer for you. Let it answer first. And trust the sensation that's happening. And so, if any of these resonated for you, if anything came up for you during this reflection, feel free to pop it in the chat. We could have a little bit of a conversation about it. Sammy shares, to me, it is to live authentically in my truth, but also living a balanced life with kindred people and my loved ones. I stop performing when I connect with social media based on my higher purpose. People with the same mindset and hobbies help me to relax. My two life partners love me as I am. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And marriage shares, to be seen is to be loved, respected, and accepted for myself. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. And feel free, as we're going through process, if you feel like you want to share more, we are here. We are here in community together. So we're going to get ready to do our rose and belonging ritual, our community ritual together today. And so I'm going to ask you to gather your items. And then as you gather your items, we will then get started together. So if you have a bowl of water, you should bring it. If you have rose petals, rose oil, an actual rose, any of those things are fine. If you have a candle that you can light it now. And when you have all of your things together, you are going to pop in the chat and say that I'm ready so we can begin the ritual together. And as we are preparing ourselves, I see Mama Frie shared the first two questions, God and the ancestors came up. They know me, accept all parts of me, even when there are times I don't want to be seen. Ashe. Thank you for sharing, Mama Frie. Feel free to continue sharing. Thank you. So we're just going to pop it in the chat as we get ready. So as folks are getting ready. Again, just pop it in the chat when you're ready and we will get started. Great. Wonderful. Alrighty, so I'm going to take this down for a little bit. All right, so we're going to get started. Beautiful. So if you have your water, you can have a bowl of water, you can have a cup of water, either works. But I want us to have water. And as we always talk about, water is a source of life. Water is 70% of our body. Water has the ability to hold, capacity to hold our thoughts, our dreams, our prayers. So we're going to start first by speaking into our water. We're going to speak about connecting to our Egbe. We're going to speak about connecting to kinship spirits. We're going to speak about not being alone and recognizing and receiving this energy today. So with your bowl of water, you're going to speak into and speak prayers around connection, around kinship, around Egbe, around feeling supported, and ask the water to hold this energy for you. And when you have finished, you're just going to place your water down. If you have your rose, I actually have rose and dried rose petals. If you have dried rose petals, one thing that I teach in my medicine making class is that you always want to what we call muddle the dried flower. So simply just put it in your left hand. If you have petals, if you have rose oil, then just put some in your left hand, in the palm of your hand. And so we're going to activate our rose specifically around our heart, right? Because this is heart medicine that we're partaking in. So take a moment. You want to crush it into your hands. If you muddle, you're just rubbing it so that the essential oils will come out a little bit more. Take a moment to take a deep breath in and breathe out. Deep breath in and breathe out. Take a moment to speak to the rose, either the rose oil, the rose petals, or a rose that you have, and speak about opening your heart. That your heart is open to receive, that your heart is open to give, that your heart is open for reciprocity, that you're experiencing love and joy and happiness and success, and that the energies of those who are here to support you are always fully recognized by your heart. Once you've said your prayer, you're going to touch it to your heart, and you're going to place your rose or a little bit of rose oil, whatever you have, into your water. You're going to take your finger and you're just going to circle the water 7 times counterclockwise. You've done that. Take a moment to anoint your head or your ori. Take a moment to anoint your heart. Take a moment to anoint your hands. Take a moment to anoint your belly button, your solar plexus, your gut brain. Take a moment to anoint your feet. You can sprinkle, you can rub, whatever works best for you. Okay? And so we're going to take a moment to be in a meditation that's calling the energy of Egbe to us. Calling the energy of love, the frequency of love, the frequency of reciprocity to us. And let's see what comes up. So take a moment to ground your feet, either to the floor. If you're sitting down, then you want your feet flat. If you're laying down, which is totally great as well, then just make sure that you're laying flat and you're comfortable. Take a moment to place our hands on our heart. We're going to take a deep breath in and breathe out. Deep breath in and breathe out. One more time, deep breath in and breathe out. Continue to allow yourself to breathe at any pace. But I want you in your mind's eye to see a light. In your third eye, to see a light. Let that light shower over you, from the top of your head to the sole of your feet. Let it envelop you in this moment. And I am going to ask you, as I sing through this meditation, that you allow the energy of support to surround you. Let the people that come to mind lift to the top. That's your inner knowing. Let the sensations that go through your body happen so that you can understand what it feels like to belong here in this moment, to belong with your Egbe, to belong in this ecosystem. So take a deep breath in and breathe out. Continue in your breathing. Iaewe ukabao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Iaewe ukabao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Iaewe ukabao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Iaewe ukabao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Iaewe ukabao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Iaewe ukabao, iaewe ukaba. Gele ala lori pao, iaewe ukaba. Taking a deep breath in and breathe out. Deep breath in and breathe out. Deep breath in and breathe out. Allow yourself a moment to feel what you feel in the body, bringing the body back to you, bringing your body back centered here. When you are ready, you can open your eyes. You can release your hands from your heart. You can give yourself a huge hug. Wow. How are we feeling? Any people, places, things? How are we feeling now? Sammy says this is very nice. Thank you. I will say that who came up as somebody who I haven't thought about in a long time. I used to have a caretaker by the name of Dorothy Simon. I haven't seen her face in a very long time. Of course, she transitioned some time ago. But I've had people tell me there's a Bayesian woman whose spirit is always with you. And sometimes I forget that she was my caretaker when I was a young child. And so I call her forward because I know that she was definitely is a part of my Egbe. She was one of the reasons why I was able to do all the things I was able to do when I was little, because she was a person who, if my mother couldn't do it, she would be taking care of me and she would take me to places. I've even gone to Barbados and visited her family. I put my feet on the sand, and she came in very strongly in this meditation. And I'm grateful because I haven't actually thought about her in a long time. So I will make sure that I offer something on her behalf today. But anyone else? Anything else come up for you as you were meditating or thinking about belonging, your Egbe, being supported? I know that the other thing that I feel a lot is that Feeling incredibly held. I was just going to say that, Sion. Amazing. Amazing. Feeling incredibly held. When you sing, I saw a dear friend who transitioned a few years ago, and I saw his bright smile, and he was dancing, and I fell back in the ocean. A lot of hands emerged to catch me, and over again. That is so powerful. Again, these are energies, excuse me, energies that exist, right? We aren't separated. We aren't walking alone. We are connected. We are connected to this divine energy every day. And we have the ability to call it in. And when we're paying attention, they'll say hi and they'll ask us to recognize them. And in that recognition, we continue to be connected and to be carried. Wow. Oh, thank you, my mama. Exactly. She used to carry me around all the time. She used to carry us around all the time. It was me and my brother. But she was she had, when I met her, and I'm thinking about it now, I see her face. She had gray hair all the time I knew of her. Um, just, it's just, these are the amazing things that I personally, not just being an Egbe priest, but just being someone who's connected to those energies. It's so amazing and so fulfilling to know that we are not alone, because this world would have us believe we're out here doing this on our own. And we have to tap back into the technology that reminds us we're not. We're not. We're here with a destiny that is in relation to those who came before and those who are going to come after. Mama Friye says, from the moment you started singing, I was in the womb. One cord connected to the sun and the other connected to tree roots. I was told you are a child of the sun and a child of the earth. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Mama Amadoma says, these reminders are very helpful. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in community with us. Yeah, it brings, you know, and I talk a little bit, we'll talk about, how you can continue this work. But one of the things we talk about when we talk about Egbe is we talk about the idea of joy, the idea that our Egbe wants us to experience life here on earth in our most joyful self. They're responsible for that energy of feeling love, that energy of feeling kept, that energy of feeling held. That is part of their responsibility. And it's so amazing to continue to tap into this, because this is our inheritance. Don't let them get you caught up on money and houses. And this right here, this is our inheritance. This is how our ancestors ensured that we were going to be here. Those of you who may have listened to the podcast from this month, we talk about And Still We Rise. And part of it is because who we are as we sit in this moment, we are the visions that our ancestors had. They had to be the architects of the future. We are their future. We're not sitting here just because. We're sitting here because someone thought about, this is what I want my future to look like. This is what I want my family to look like. This is what my social inheritance is going to look like. And they thought about it and they visioned it, and we're here. And so that's the energy of this is our inheritance we have, and we have to remember to tap back into. When it feels heavy, when it feels lonely, when it feels like we feel like we're undeserving, we have to remember that this energy exists. It exists so that we can continue to do the work that we're supposed to do. That our destiny is not a hero's journey, not by ourselves. It is in relation to others, people, places, things, time sets, time seasons. It's relational. We've always been relational. That is part of our destiny as humans. We have the ability to choose, and part of our choice is choosing our destinies. Wow, just really, really powerful. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for participating. We're going to get ready to wind ourselves down so you can continue your day. But I am so grateful So what you're remembering, right? It's not something you learned. It's not something new. It's something that you're remembering because it comes from our inner knowing, right? What comes up in those moments when we sit in ritual, in those moments when we sit in reflection, are because it already exists. It's being asked to be pulled forward. And so we're remembering. We're remembering that belonging does not require effort, it is recognition, not achievement, right? It's not earned, it's about being recognized. That kinship is not something you prove, it is something you feel and you trust, right? They feel like kinfolk. It doesn't mean that they have to be blood relatives, but they feel like kinfolk, right? Because we feel it. Our bodies, these machines are our first indicators that we have resonant energy with someone or something or someplace. It tells us first. And thirdly, that support is already present. Support is already present. You are not alone. You are held. Even when you cannot see it, all of the hands that have been in your life that continues to call you forward are holding you. You are held. That this is about remembering who we are. It's not about trying to be or perform it. It's about remembering who we are. That's the other key to becoming. That's the other key of evolution, right? That our becoming and our evolution does not come because we're performing something. It becomes because we remember who we are and have the space and the right conditions, to evolve. We create new pathways in our brains. We remember those things that bring us forward, and that is how we move into the next phase of our existence. So I thank you all for being here. I thank you for joining me at this time. I thank you for being in community with each other. I thank Creator. I thank Olodumare. I thank the Orisha. I thank our Egbe, because Egbe is very important. It will make sure that you are in the right place at the right time with the right people. And so I never um, loathe on who shows up, because I know that Egbe is going to ensure that who needs to be here will be here. So I thank each and every one of you. Before I move forward, I see Sammy says, thank you all for helping me start my day out great. My birthday is tomorrow, God be willing. Ashe. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Okay, I'm a really big birthday person. I believe that they are personal holidays, so make sure that you do something very special for yourself, Sammy. Thank you, Maris. Thank you so much, Dr. Jones, for being here with us. Thank you so much, Mama Tandu. It's so great to have you in the space. So great to have you in the space. Sion says, happy birthday, happy Earth Day. Yes, let's celebrate each other. Let's remember that this is a part of why we're here, to celebrate and to be in community. So I want to share a couple of things as we close out, right? If you are interested in going a little deeper, those of you who are part of the Soul Soil Collective, that is our monthly membership, you all already have access to these, what we call these self-paced modules that go a little deeper. It's video, it is worksheets, and then we come together in community ritual once a month. This month, as we talked about it, we're talking about finding your tribe, belonging, and sacred kinship. Talking about, going a little deeper into what Egbe is, going a little deeper into what true kinship looks like, a couple of the rituals that we look at, and also just thinking about flowers and plant allies that can help us on this journey. Again, this is self-paced, so it's not something that you can lock in whenever you want to lock in. Even people will come to the community ritual and they may not have gotten through all of the pieces, but that is totally fine, because it's about you getting what it is that you need. And I, again, knowing that this is something that I needed to provide and figuring out a way to really do this, that it became reciprocal for everyone who's here. So this is the course that is up for this month. We also have the ability to participate through flower essences. Those of you who know, I love flower essences. And so there is an essence called Tribe that really talks about offering heart clarity, emotional integration, and thinking about the spaces where we need to release so that we can call this energy into us every day. And then also you have the opportunity to do a one-on-one consultation. So if you're interested in looking at a personalized plan, looking at flower essences and how they can help, some counseling and so on and so forth, you can also definitely reach out to me at any given time. I thank you all so much. You're such a beautiful group. I thank you for being here with us. I'm going to just share some of the thank yous. Mama Freya is sharing happy birthday. Thank you, Sion, for being here with us. And let folks know if they'd like to see the replay. It'll be on, sorry, I kicked my table. It'll be on YouTube later today at 6 p.m. So people can tune in then as well and participate. Thank you, Madasi, thank you. Thank you, Afia, for being here. Mama Amadoma, I'm so grateful that you are here. It's always great to see you online and in community. Via, thank you so much for being here. Mama Tandu, thank you. So we're going to close ourselves out, if that is okay. So take a moment. And I want you to know that in this moment, we give ourselves the opportunity to really be seen. Allow yourself to be seen. Do not be afraid of who you are or who you're becoming. Allow yourself to be seen. Do not worry about rejection. Do not worry about doubt. Do not worry about fear, because who is to see you will see you. Making sure that as we are thinking about belonging, that we are ensuring that we know that belonging is not something we have to seek. It comes to us. It reminds us who we are. So I pray in this moment that you continue to recognize that you do not walk alone, that your sacred kinship, they surround you. They are people, places, things, plants, your ancestors that guide you, the spiritual energies that resonate with you, that make you smile, that make you find joy, that make you tickle, that make you laugh, that make you rest. Sometimes we can name them and sometimes we cannot. But on this journey, we are recognizing that we are not alone. I thank each and every one of you for being here this morning. I pray that you have an amazing day, that you give yourself love, that you share love, and that you continue to participate in your belonging.